Well, hello, everybody. We are 8 hours into our day today with 3 to go. And it has been the most incredible day. I actually feel like I have more of a glow and more energy now than I did when I got up this morning. So it's been just a fabulous day. And you guys as an audience have been just awesome. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We do a lot more than just these events, but these events are epic. So please subscribe. And if you have not yet registered for this event, go to oneheartoneearth.net. It's all free. All you're going to get when you sign up is you're going to get a monthly newsletter with incredible collaborations and artists and writers, and Anna's one of them. And you also are going to get our lineups here for this week. So we promise we're not going to bombard you with a ton of email, but just enough to give you all the information that you need. My name is Lisa Gunshore. I haven't said that at all today. So my name is Lisa Gunshore. I am your host and also the creator of One Heart, One Earth and Buddhist Biohacker, this YouTube channel. And my passion is really just getting you guys resources and tools to awaken and to continue to awaken and blossom and be yourself. So I am so happy to have with us Anna Downing. Anna, welcome back.
Thank you so much, Lisa. This is an amazing event, and my hat is off to you for the wizardry that it requires to create and sustain something like this.
Oh, thank you. It's easier than it looks, but it's actually a lot of work, and I don't probably give myself or my team enough credit, but we had a lot to do in the last couple months, but it paid off. So it's pretty awesome. And hi, everybody. Everybody's here. Look at this. We have Nancy here, who's amazing. Judy, Suhan, hi. Janet's here. Hi. Kathy, I love that. Hello. Bev is here as well. So hi to everybody who's already joining. Welcome in. So Anna, I have a feeling that most everybody knows who you are by now. You've been a part of a few of our events already, and there's a lot of friendly folks on here. But do take a minute, just tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Yes. Well, I am a gardener, and when I'm not gardening, I am supporting people in their transformation, their growth, their blossoming, their being all they want and desire in this life. I do psychic readings and healing over the phone, so I can do it, with someone in any time zone in any part of the world. My clients are generally women, successful women who are looking for a little extra clarity, would like a little extra support, sometimes wanting to explore something they really do know down in their heart and haven't quite dropped into the fullness of that trusting themselves and their own information. My sessions are collaborative, and people generally say they feel marvelously refreshed and renewed and reinvigorated as a result of a session with me. I'm also lately exploring using some stem cell activation I want to mention because I'm really excited about it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and several people are on the ride with me. My sense is that we're being asked to evolve. We're being evolved, and we're being nodded and prodded, and sometimes gently and sometimes not so gently. And my sense of the stem cell activation is that it supports us in our spiritual flexibility, besides our well-being on other levels, physical, mental, emotional. And I have experienced more energy, better sleep, better mental clarity, reduction of inflammation. And the biggest thing that I want to mention here for folks on this platform is I've also experienced a greater ease in shifting old patterns and habits. And my sense is that when I'm stuck in an old pattern, it's much harder to be nimble and agile and respond to those evolutionary nudges. So, the ride isn't as smooth if I'm kind of hung up somewhere. So I've found stem cell activation to be a spiritual lubricant, a WD-40, if you will, and to support myself and others in these, to support thriving, through these times, not just making it through. And so anyone interested knows how to reach me here. My information's in my profile, phone, email, website. I welcome people reaching out in any way, shape, or form.
That's awesome. Ooh, interesting. That might be a whole other show we'll have to have at some point.
There you go. Yes.
I love it. Well, so your topic is remember your essence. And I love this because the theme is remember who you are for this whole event. And so I want to dive in. Like, what do you have up your sleeve for us today? What do you want to talk about?
Well, what I was hoping, so what's up my sleeve is in the presentation, right?
Yeah.
And so what I was hoping is that with all these lovely folks here logging on, that we might, for one thing, I'd love to hear what these folks have to express about their own experience of what they saw, their own experiences of discovering their own essence, what it's like for them to be trying some of the appreciation activities that were presented. So I'm curious to hear from viewers,
Yeah.
the audience, to hear about their experiences and if they have any questions.
Yeah, for sure. We invite you guys to jump in there and share. We have some people saying, I'm here watching on TV. Hi, Erica. Claire says, have a great day today. So glad to be present for this. Mary says, stem cell activation. Wow, I love this. And Sue says, love using the LifeWave patches too. What are LifeWave patches? I want to hear about this.
Yeah, so the patches that I'm talking about that stimulate the growth of our own stem cells, as opposed to like having injections or something like that, are made by a company called LifeWave. And if you're interested, reach out and I am happy to tell you more, perhaps offer some samples, that kind of thing.
I love it. Well, while we're waiting on some comments, I know there's a slight delay on YouTube, but while we're waiting on some comments to come in, what do you think about global awakening? What do you think about awakening in general? Like, what do you think about what's happening right now in our world?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, more revealed all the time. My focus is supporting people through whatever the awakening looks like, whatever it is personally, individually, as because obviously there is a global
event. I like to say global event.
Great. Part of my sense of all of this is that we're entering territory, well, and we've been in some territory for a while now, that we don't necessarily have a lot of language for. When we're in new territory, I mean, most of our languaging is for what's familiar, what has been, where we've come from. So it isn't the easiest thing necessarily to articulate at times. And I have the sense sometimes that I am tuned into kind of the larger picture, if you will, and not in the way where the channels are coming through a verbal expression. So I think I translate at times more energetically than verbally. So it is easier for me to talk about all that in a one-to-one situation where I'm supporting someone with what's up with them in the course of their being available to what's wanting to happen in this larger, right? It's vibratory field, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's a good point too, because this really is it's awakenings are an individual experience. So even though there's this global awakening, it's still because of individuals' experiences, which I think are important. And we do have a lot of questions, so we're going to head on over here. So Judy's question is, when you personally forget your essence and are reacting, what do you find is the easiest way to get back to you?
Well, the easiest for me is to reach out to someone who absolutely loves me, knows who I am, and holds the memory of that always. Other people are a reliable reminder when I forget. I also find breathing, tuning into my own breath. Sometimes it's 3 a.m., right? And it's not necessarily timely for me to reach out to those who unconditionally love me. So tuning into my own breath, particularly feeling my breath in and out of my body, breathing a little bit more deeply than I usually do. I find it most rapidly delightful if I'm moving my body some while I'm breathing, listening to the sound. So feeling and appreciating all the qualities of my breath, feeling where it comes in, my body expands where that stops and it tips over into the exhale. The sound, did I say sound already? So all of the different senses of how I might experience my breath, all of those help me come back to who I really am.
I love it. Janet asks, how do you know if a trait I see is essence versus learned from life experience? It's a good question.
Yes, particularly, I'd love to hear if she has an example of something she's actually thinking about that she wonders for herself if this is learned or not.
Okay.
I'd love to hear that. The rule of thumb that I use is generally something that I have learned. If I unlearned it and it went away, I would still be me. I would still be who I am at my very essence, my core. But an essence quality, i.e., not a learned behavior, if that went away, I wouldn't recognize me. I wouldn't recognize myself as me.
Heather asks, how do I know when the thoughts or direction I am getting is from my higher self and spirit guides versus my extensive imagination?
That's a tremendously great question that I spent years getting educated about. Yeah. How do I know when the thoughts, direction that I'm getting from my higher self, my spirit guides versus my extensive imagination? Well, my first inclination is to say that there isn't necessarily a great deal of difference. I can make things up, of course, use my imagination to make things up, but my imagination is also a conduit through which I receive information. So I would say tuning into your grounding, making sure that you are well grounded with the planet is a primary step in being clear about messages. And taking some courses are always great. There's Sue Hunt is on our thread here, Suzanne Hunt, and I know that she's offering courses in just this very kind of distinction, how to be sure your messages are really clear.
Yep, so true. Sue, you should throw your website on there, but it's Energetic Healing Arts, and she's on the One Heart website as well. Janet did say one example for her. Janet was the one asking about essence versus learned. She says one example might be slow pace. Another angle might be waiting to hear what others think.
Yeah. So the pace is a great one. So one tip is to think about what kind of messages you got as a kid. Were you given a lot of messages to slow down? And have you learned to embrace going slowly as a result of that? The second big clue would be, how does it feel in your body for yourself when you are going slow? Slow, whatever that means, at a certain pace that you're calling slow. So when moving at that pace, do you experience a deliciousness, a sense of being filled out to your edges, that you are embodying yourself? Because when moving more rapidly or more slowly than what is truly the juiciest place for you, you will experience something less than that aliveness I've just described.
I love
And
that.
did she had one other?
No, that's what she said. She said slow pace, another angle is waiting to hear what others think. So yeah, Kathy says one of the things I love about sessions with you, Anna, is that you do give a language, focus, and way forward to the unknown that I am feeling, which is beautiful. And Miss Suzanne, that we love so much, says, I really enjoyed the process of looking at my essences. So validating to recognize our wonderful essences and separate out our personas for self-understanding. So thank you so much, you guys, for your great comments. Doreen says, I love how Anna is describing how to discern a true essence quality here. It's so beautiful. I love it. You guys can keep those questions and comments coming for sure. I love it. You know what I love is the word essence. There's something about that, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure that's part of why you used it.
Yeah, it's speaking of things that are more difficult to language as we move into new territory. Essences, it just doesn't get any better in my mind for a word that is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So true. Janet says, thank you. The feeling of juiciness is a great guide. So thank you, Janet, for asking your questions too and putting them out there. Oh my goodness. So what do you think? What are some tools that you're using right now, Anna, with everything going on in the world to stay grounded, to stay focused on your work? I mean, you're a very focused person, I feel, on your work and what you're doing. And, what's helping you right now?
Yes. Well, walking, definitely, and meditation, and doing my work. My work is very grounding and expansive at the same time. So that's awesome. The stem cell patches, I think, are really supporting my capacity to move with what wants to happen, to be opening up to the new, collaborating with spirit in new ways. So let's see, walking, meditation. It's a little trickier this time of year because normally I would say spending time in my garden.
Uh,
Yeah, definitely looking at pictures of flowers that I have grown and experienced. But meditation has been really, really potent of late.
yeah, it's like a deep dive right now. Every time you go into a meditation, there's a quality that I don't feel like has been there before. There's a depth that's happening that's different, I feel. Sue asks, I wonder if you have thoughts on how to help older folks who may be struggling in some way, or children on how to recognize their essences.
Well, I put that, there's a form, PDF on my website of, I think, 144 words. And I like utilizing that because for me to just to tune in and just say, oh, well, what about myself? It's much easier about someone else, of course. I can tune into other people's essence much more readily. But when I look at the list of words, it's very easy for me, and so perhaps for another, to go through the list and say, oh yeah, I recognize myself there. Oh yeah, I am that. Or well, I'm, like I express that sometimes, but that's not really like, yeah. So I think that list of words is the best tool because it's so easy to use. The recognition factor, I'd say.
I like that. I like that it's 144 too. I imagine that was purposeful.
I hope that's what's on there. Anyway, it's a bunch of words.
Yeah, I love it. I'm gonna have to go look at those words. Bev says, I think looking at our essence is so crucial to honoring ourselves. Anna's enthusiasm and clarity always helps me. So many great compliments. I love it. I love it. So yeah, what do you do when you can't garden? Because it's cold. Aren't you in Iowa? Is that right? Am I remembering this correct?
I'm in Idaho.
Idaho. Why did I think? Yeah,
I'm on the western edge of your time zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it cold there? It snowed here, so.
It's generally a little milder than where you are. I'm a Colorado native, so I'm well familiar with the gardening and the seasons and the flow of things. In the winter, I've got a fair number of house plants, and I love to have blooming things like amaryllis and hyacinths and paper whites, and I have lots of begonias and anyway, things that make flowers and express their vibrance and life force.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nature is probably the best way for me to stay grounded during this time. Sue's saying, can you say any more about the nervous system resource you mentioned in the presentation?
Yes, absolutely. So the biggest revelation, in my opinion, about that resource and the whole polyvagal theory in general is that there's other territory besides fight or flight. Our nervous systems can get so activated that they go beyond that to a place of shutting down. And you may have before heard stories of say women in a victim, well, not victim, but in an assault situation, on being the recipient on the receiving end of an assault, being transgressed upon in some way, and later thinking, gosh, why didn't I yell? Why didn't I fight? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? And it's because they've moved into this territory of how the nervous system expresses itself, where they're not available to themselves. And knowing that, well, just in that situation, that little that example, it's highly illuminating what was going on. So that resource, introducing that information, helps us organize a sense of the landscape of how our nervous system expresses itself. Because the most useful thing about knowing that landscape is that what is happening with our nervous system sponsors what's going on in our heads. So if our nervous system is jacked up, we're going to have thoughts and stories that are going to match it. Mm-hmm. And so knowing that, then when we are having certain thoughts, it's a clue to take a gander at what's happening physically, like what's happening with my pulse, my heart rate, what's happening with my breath. How is it up high? Is it short and fast? What about is my skin clammy? Am I feeling like I can't get off the sofa? So knowing more about the landscape gives us clues about how to, I don't want to say course correct, because it's not as if we're off course, but gives us clues to support us in the fine tuning of the flow through our body, so that flow is supporting us in doing what we want to do and living our best lives, being healthy, being available, being able to give and receive love, and all of that kind of thing.
That's really beautiful because the nervous system takes a beating. It's like the first thing to short circuit, especially if you're an empath or a healer.
Definitely can be the canary, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're paying attention. We know what to watch for.
Yeah, it's definitely mine. The minute my nervous system is doing something funky, I know something's going on that I need to look at for sure.
Right. I'm so glad you said that, Lisa, because there is an aspect of our awareness that is many times faster than our rational thought. So by the time you've become aware that something's not quite, that's off, like what you just said, some aspect of our consciousness has been onto it for a while.
That makes sense. It's the emotion is energy in motion turning into matter. Nancy says, I was just thinking that it could be possible to see my essence qualities through the sorts of flowers that I'm drawn to. Ooh, I love that. Assuming that I'm drawn through a sense of kinship.
Oh, beautifully expressed.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's interesting because we were just talking about flower essences the other day with Lena Moon. And I wonder too, if not just the flowers, but the flower essences you're drawn to, the fragrances.
Yes, and what I'm loving so much about what Nancy just said is that someone earlier asked about introducing or supporting someone in discovering their essence. And if you're not a word-oriented person, or that's not the easiest way, then the exploration of what you love, sounds, flowers, like Nancy's talking about, other things in nature, is a gate. They're all gateways to our essence and some other nonverbal pathways.
Judy says, do you have thoughts on how to bridge the gap when communicating with people who are on the other side of inclusion, are more exclusionary and less science-based and more rumor-based? That's a big question.
You see if I understand the question.
Yeah.
Do you have thoughts on how to bridge the gap when communicating with people who are on the other side of inclusion? So who aren't inclusive, I think, who aren't inclusive and less science-based and more rumor-based. Do I have thoughts on how to bridge the gap when communicating? If someone else in the chat thread has some feedback, I'd love for people to chime in here and add their 2 cents, $10, $100 thoughts on how to bridge the gap. Yes, I do have thoughts. As I'm rereading Judy's question, and I'm feeling into it. As feeling into it for me means imagining myself in that situation, talking with someone less science-based. So being in my own body, number one. In the face of communicating with someone that as I'm understanding her to be describing, my first inclination would be to get scared, to feel scared. So anything that I'm doing that's making contact with my own experience and my own body, being here rather than sort of, sometimes in fear, one can almost even leave the body. So the first would be fully in touch with myself. So as I'm doing that, as I'm saying it, I'm feeling my feet, can feel them inside my shoes. I'm feeling my foot on the floor and the way my sits bones are unevenly making contact with the chair, for example. I'm noticing the quality of my breath, that it feels a little bit more shallow and a little bit more throaty than is usually my fullest. And I'm feeling the back of my shoulder blades and my spine toward the middle of my back. So these kinds of things, like this specifically, feeling myself, is the first step before I would even venture to say something that might be more ideologically based or something like that in conversation with someone. The other would be appreciating. I don't typically say always and never. And I'm going to venture out and say there's probably always something that can be appreciated. Whether the other person sees it or not, there's likely some common ground that can be appreciated. Something about our surroundings to be appreciated, about what someone is wearing. Appreciating is a tremendous, if there's a pathway of communication, appreciation will widen. It's like changes a dirt road to a superhighway. So that's being in my body and appreciating.
I want to offer too that Amy said something earlier that really stuck with me in regards to Judy's question, which is to invite curiosity on both parties. When you talk about someone who is rumor-based versus science-based, for whatever that definition is for you, or being inclusive and non-inclusive, whatever side you're on, is to invite curiosity in yourself. Like, be curious about what they're thinking and feeling, and hope that they're giving you space and curiosity back too, because that was really beautiful what Amy said earlier. And I think that, along with what you're talking about, is a nice blend to really give space to be that bridge that you're asking about, Judy. So
yeah, giving yourself that space and curiosity as well. Yeah,
that's like a theme, just a theme teaching that's come through, I think, from Spirit over the last couple of days with my own client community and us here in the program, is really giving space to each other, giving each other space to believe what we want, to, feel what we need to feel right now, because there's so much constriction. So the more space we can give, the better, for sure. Bev says, now I see how engaging the body really gives the clues. So true. How much, I'm curious, Anna, how much, because you're in you do use your body a lot. You move your body, you use your body. So how often would you say you check in with your body, and how often do you think your clients check in with their body?
Yeah, well, as you say that, I feel a wave of sadness. And who knows what that's about, right? It's a wave of sadness. It doesn't have to be about anything. And in this moment, I'm also thinking about how indoctrinated we typically are, having, those of us raised in this culture, many of us, how schooled out of being in and aware of our bodies we are. And I think it's also, what comes to me is a thought about artists and meditators. I've never heard a meditator say, "Oh, I meditate as often as I'd like or think I ought to," or whatever. There's always this, right? So, and I have that too. Like, could I be more aware? Could my awareness be richer and broader? And yes. How often? I wouldn't know how to even, as often as I think of it, as often as it occurs to me. And people that I work with, I wouldn't know how to venture a guess there either, more so after working with me. And enjoying the benefits thereof, right? So there's so much I'm just having this sense of the doors that open, is like the flower, like the blossoming, the opening of a flower. So much happens as a result of body awareness.
Well, and that sadness, Anna, I mean, we were talking about it earlier. That's often what we can feel when we first connect with our bodies and have been ignoring them or denying them.
Yeah.
Sue says, do you have a suggestion for a couple or anyone who is struggling to come back together? This is similar to the last question I typed a bit ago, didn't send. So yeah, any suggestions for a couple or anyone who is struggling to come back together?
Yeah, well, I think I saw someone, Janet Parks here in the chat, whose field of expertise has quite a bit of expertise. So I welcome her adding to the conversation here. I think getting support is highly beneficial. It isn't always welcome. You know, two people don't necessarily both have interest in getting some support from someone else. Remembering what drew you to one another, what was rich and beneficial and bond creating at some point. The practice of appreciation can transform a relationship, and it can be done from one partner can make a significant shift in relationship. I think it's a myth that both people have to be engaged in making change for change to occur. One person can change the agreement, one person can change the game. And the practice of appreciation, even one thing a day, can begin to my senses of something becoming more pliable, softer, more malleable, more pliable, and can change the quality of the interaction between two people and open the door to something else.
That's beautiful. Bev says, I see the need to explore the body language as a way to honor my essence. Yes.
Beautiful. Wow.
I can tell you're an energy healer because she's like, this kitty's passed out. She's bathing in your psychic energy right now. She's like, give me all that energy. I know, look at her. She's just passed out. This happened with one other healer, so I know it's your healing essence.
Beautiful. I love four-legged feedback.
Yes. She's like, I'm just chill. She doesn't want to get down either. She just wants to be in the midst of everything.
Yeah. Marvelous.
Janet says, regarding couples, distinguishing between seeing differences as different preferences versus the duality of right or wrong. Oh my God, Janet, that's like the United States right now. Isn't it? Isn't that the United States right now is talking about different preferences versus right and wrong? It's so good. Kathy says, there is so much division currently on the planet, and the intention to bridge the gaps and heal seem to be a first step coming from the deep love rather than self-interest.
Yeah, there's some wisdom there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I've said, my clairvoyance I saw last night was like a pie, and it was cut in half, and then it was in fourths, and then it's like in eighths, and now it's in 16ths. And that's what I see happening energetically. And then it's like time to start putting all those pieces back together. That's really what I'm seeing needs to happen now, or what will happen, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. I love that sense of it. Like, right. In many ways, it can feel right now like the whole brick building is bricks flying around. And the structure hasn't come back together again in a different form.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Where'd it go? Oh, here. Bev says imitating my cats would be a good body exercise.
Yes.
Yes. You know, my totem is the jaguar. Like that's my like lead animal totem, I would say. So I kind of laugh because I feel like she's my little Black Panther kitty. And there's many times I've sat in front of my sacred space imitating the jaguar. My husband probably thinks I'm crazy, but it is a good body exercise.
Yeah, they're so that languid. Yeah, kitties know what they're doing.
They do. The flexibility, the stretching. Yeah, they got it going on. My gosh, I love it.
I don't know as I've ever seen a cat move in any way other than cat essence. Right?
It's true. That's true. Although I will say Cauldron's a little clumsy. So she tends to fall a lot, which is pretty funny. She like falls off of things. So she's not the most graceful kitty, but she has her moments for sure. She's figuring it out. She's still a kitty. So Janet says the ability to see another person's differences is non-threatening, is founded on self-love, which is cultivated moment by moment in appreciation. Oh my God, love that. Yes. Brilliant. Janet, you need to come on to the show, it seems like. And Nancy says, could that be another way to find one's essence by watching cats or dogs and seeing what feels familiar? You know, there's a great movie, Anna, and it's called The Full Mantis. And it's about a drummer, which is why I watched it, because my husband's a drummer. He's like, you have to watch this movie. I have never seen so much Shakti in all my life as this man. He was like a guru, but he was a drummer. And his whole thing was about becoming the mantis. And he would go and buy them because the dojos or whatever wouldn't teach it. So he went and bought praying mantises and became the mantis. And there's so much about becoming the animal kingdom and seeing what they have to offer for you. I love that so much. Do you have favorite animals or animal totems?
Well, I want to say to Nancy's comment that it's genius for one thing, and again it reflects to me that thing about recognizing essence rather than trying to think up, well, what is my essence? And that invitation of hers is along those lines of what do you recognize? Yeah. Whale. The answer about my own totem would be whale. All those, the porpoise, whale, all those, that family.
Beautiful.
For sure. Yes.
Yeah. Those are my favorite. Lucid dreams are with the whales. The best. Bev asks, is there a way to utilize this study of essence to our homes as well?
Well, I'm not sure I totally grok the question. I imagine that when we give ourselves permission to express our essence, that our homes will reflect that. I sometimes have things in my home that are more practical than a true expression of my essence, but it sounds like the question is a little bit of moving from the study of essence toward the home, but in the same way that Nancy was bringing up having the animals, using the animals to reflect our own essence. Those are my words put into her. The home can go this way in terms of reflecting back to us what our essence is. So for example, the colors and shapes in this behind me reflect my essence. Bev, could you ask that in a slightly different way so that I'm sure that I know what you're asking and can actually address it? Not that it's your responsibility, I'm just asking for help.
Well, while she's doing that, I want to take a minute. I mean, obviously, Anna's presentation, all her information, her links are on the website. If you go to oneheartoneearth.net, just click on her name. But I still want to give space for audio and every other thing for you to be able to share how folks can access you and connect with you and what you have available right now, while Bev takes the time to do that.
Great idea. Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah.
Well, so are you thinking I would actually give that information?
Yeah.
No.
Give your website and share with folks if you've got anything going on you want to share about. I don't know if you have any courses or special stuff happening.
All right. Great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my website is www.insightfularts.com. And my phone is a great way to get a hold of me, 303-912-7138. And I'm making some crazy, delightful gift certificates for Christmas gifts that in essence will end up being about 2 for the price of 1. So a tremendous way to give Christmas presents. And those will be either physical if you want to have something to put a bow on and give to someone, but they'll also be electronic versions if you are paperless. Of course, I'm offering readings either in a single session or a package, coaching or blended sessions of reading and coaching.
I love it.
That's it right now.
I love it. That's a lot. That's a lot. Anna is also one of our contributors on One Heart, One Earth. So she has a lovely monthly column. If you guys have questions for her, want to tune in with what she's written and what she has to share, you guys just go to oneheartoneearth.net, go to articles. That's our online magazine, and you'll be able to find information there. And Bev is saying, if we are feeling a disconnect from some energy in our house.
So I think she's talking about essence. Well, first of all, let me just say that I happen to know Bev Ivers, and she is a masterful, brilliant psychic reader and healer. And she and I team clear spaces. This is another offering. We clear homes, businesses. So that would be houses, apartments, businesses, buildings, vacant land. We're a dynamic team and do brilliant work. People give tremendous feedback about the shifts they feel in their homes or their businesses. And we have a great time doing it also. So let me get back to if we're feeling a disconnect from some energy in our house. I love Palo Santo to start with. I love to burn some Palo Santo through the entire house. I would start there. That would be my first move. And my second move would be to walk through with my field open, if you will, my spidey senses, looking for anything that I no longer resonate with, that I still have in my home. Looking around while I'm saying this, to see if there's something that I've got hanging around in my space that I no longer resonate with, or that is calling for my attention. Sometimes an off vibration can be something somewhere that's needing something from me, and it's trying to get my attention by having that kind of an off sense.
Beautiful. Well, Anna, time just flies in here. It does, doesn't it? And you guys have been such an incredible audience. Thank you so much. Sounds like half the audience needs to come on the show, so feel free to shoot me an email. And I do want to shout out, Anna is a contributor, and we're always looking for submissions. And Julie Ware is our contributions editor, and she said we have been flooded this week with beautiful submissions from all over the place. So make sure you guys do that. There's so much opportunity to share. We're really I like to say we're giving Goop a run for their money because we're a different vibration, but similar model. Yeah, so we'd love to get all of us together on there. That's the whole point. And I will be back in 9 minutes with Megan Riley, who is a dear, dear old friend and colleague of mine. And she's been on a couple of times. She's going to be talking about thriving. And you can find all of Anna's information at oneheartoneearth.net. And Anna, I just love you. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you. And thanks to all those who showed up tonight and made this a tremendous party. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, great questions. And don't worry, Cauldron's still asleep. She's had enough today. We still have 2 more hours. So Megan's coming up, and then Rico Cavaglia is coming up. He's a really cool guy. So make sure you guys stay tuned for these last couple hours. Mwah! Much love to everybody. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, everyone.